man who was telling me before we came on air this morning, you love your boxing. You're into it. You watch it.
Oh, I love me boxing. Love me. My dad used to be a boxer in the army, so that's the way I've always been brought up on the boxing. I love the fights. Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder where you stand, Carlton, as many have their own opinion on this, on pay-per-view and levels of it, what we've got to pay to watch certain fights. I mean, when you think of it, Tyson Fury's fight against Derek Chisora earlier this month was priced at a record £26.95 by BT Sport, and that left some fans unhappy. Simon, even you said at the time that the promoters here, they're taking people for mugs, right?
Yeah, I mean, in comparison to what you pay in America, perhaps not, but in comparison with the fare that we were being offered, which was a gimme of a fight. Everyone knew what was going to happen in that fight. Derek Chisora was going to get beat. And I felt that Frank was pricing it at such a point where he was taking advantage of the punter and the punter's desire to watch boxing. We've had a limited amount of sport over the last 2 or 3 years that's been live, and now we've got this appetite, this ferocious appetite for more and more live sport. And I think you can get away with it so many times. And I said to Frank, you can get away with it so many times, but in the end, people will know. If you're selling somebody a pup, they'll know it's a pup in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, we all know that somewhere along the line in 2023, maybe March, maybe April, maybe in Saudi, Tyson Fury will no doubt go in against Alexander Usyk. And we spoke to Frank Warren about it. We said, what are the plans for that regards pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah. I mean, with the 4 belts on the line, I've got to, without discussing it with anyone, I'm sure the price will go up. The same as if you'd have fought, if Tyson had fought AJ, the price will go up. I mean, they are the two big money fights.
So we're bound to have to dig deep for that, Carlton.
But I don't understand, if the fight's in Saudi, why the price has to go up. Now, pay-per-view is not a problem for me, as long as the matchups are right. The Chisora Fury fight, listen, don't get me wrong, I was pleased for Derek Chisora that he got a good payday. He's been a stalwart of British boxing. I'm glad he's got his payday, but I didn't buy it. If the matchup...
You didn't watch it, you didn't buy it?
I watched it because I was at a dinner and they had it on, but I wouldn't have paid to watch it, right? Now, I don't mind paying for the fights as long as the fights are credible fights and good fights, right? And nobody has an issue with that, right? But when you've got a fight like he's already fought Chisora, this is the 3rd time, he's already beat him comprehensively twice, why would people pay to see that? But let me tell you, if he puts Usyk and Fury out at £40 or £45, people won't buy it.
Yeah, it would just get into the realms of ridiculous.
So you've got to be careful at what price you put it out and the fight, because it's not a fight that, although people want to see Fury Usyk, it was not like Fury AJ. It's not like that, Yeah. And even to an extent, AJ Usyk, it's got more of a flavour to it.
Frank's argument will be, and his argument is absolutely factual, if you don't want to watch it, don't pay for it. And no one's putting your arm up behind your back. The problem is we seem to have got steered into this narrative that somehow, somewhere along the line, it's absolutely important that Tyson Fury gets paid £25 million for every fight he turns out. And that's the point that we've got, where these guys the promoters are looking at it going, if I can get 200,000 buys at 30 quid a buy, that's 6 million quid. Right, I can get the promotions, I can get the overseas rights deals, I can get the facility fees. Now, from my point of view, the argument that Tyson makes about being a person for the fans is sort of superseded by the fact that he is complicit in allowing his promoters to want to profit off the back of the fans. If you're going to go and fight in Dubai or in the Middle East, and that's your gift, and we all know why you're going there, not because it's the mecca of boxing, it's because they're going to pay a facility fee of 100 million quid. Why would you then want to turn around to the fans and say, on the basis of that, I want you to pay 30, 40, 50 quid a fight, so that you can make me another 10 or 15, 20 million quid.
Tyson's an hypocrite. He said he would fight AJ for nothing, didn't he? You know what I mean? He comes out with so much rubbish. He's a fantastic fighter, but if you listen to anything that comes out of his mouth, if he wants to get 25 or 30 million a fight, Simon, then take... But because, listen... Fight credible fighters. The one thing about AJ, look at when he fought Ruiz, right? Yeah. He was fighting Miller, right? He couldn't afford to take on a Wallen or somebody like that because it's going out to so many countries. He's getting paid X amount of pounds, so he has to take that fight.
See, I'll disagree with you on that, because he took the Ruiz fight because he wanted to break America, because he'd seen Tyson Fury do it. He knew that there was a huge opportunity over there.
I think there's an element of that.
And I think his record is equally as padded in terms of content, in terms of the fighters that he's fought, from Eric Molina to Dominic Brazil, and on so and forth. And when he gets a live one, and one that will punch back, and one that's stronger and bigger, he gets himself into a world of problems.
Well, I don't agree with that, because if you look at who he's fought, Povetkian, fighters like
40
that,
years of age.
Yeah, but still only been beaten once. When AJ fought him,
Povetkin was nearly knocked out by David Price.
I know, but he
was 40 years of age. You could look at all
the
of
bottom
them.
line here, Carlton, is
Kubrat Pulev, 40 years of age.
pay-per-view,
Yeah.
not a bit naughty.
Well,
everybody buys a subscription. You know, you buy to watch Sky, you buy to watch BT, but they know people will wilt a bit when it comes up to the main event because of all the promotion that goes around it.
Well, as long as I haven't got a problem with pay-per-view, as long as it's for the elite fights, right? So as long as but see, when you see Fury Chisora, it's not an elite fight. So why is that on pay-per-view, right? If it comes up, like for argument's sake, if Fury's fighting Usyk for all the marbles, that is an elite fight, right? Yeah. And as long as it's priced correctly, I haven't got a problem paying £25-26. But if you say to me I've got to pay £40 to watch it, I'm not doing it.
So what is your limit for Fury Usyk?
I pay £25-26 to watch it.
And if it's 30 or 35,
I'm not paying to watch it.
No, Simon.
Well, but, you know, again, you go down.
Watch it.
You go down the route.
That's a sad fact.
People are paying £100 to go watch a Premier League game. And some of these Premier League games ain't great. You know, there's been teams in the Premier League, Burnley versus Bournemouth, that people have paid 75, 80 quid a ticket.
But you don't have a choice with that, though, Simon, do you? You either pay that or you don't get to see it.
And you either pay that and the boxing, you don't get to see it. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. And if people don't want to pay it, and you can't get past this argument.
The argument here is, and I know it's rich coming from me having worked for Sky for so many years, but if you've paid for your subscription, why should you have to pay an add-on?
But this is BT, and you don't pay. There's no paywall for BT. You're not paying a subscription to be a BT subscriber. You're watching
Sky
BT.
Sky do pay-per-view as well.
Pay-per-view, yes, Sky, but this is not. If we're talking about Tyson Fury, we're talking about a BT fighter. So he's a BT fighter.
We're talking about pay-per-view in general. Should it not scrub it? You fooled the public too long.
Yes, and if you are in the mindset that you don't want to pay pay-per-view, and that's the supply and demand situation, then people won't buy it, and they'll price it out of the equation, and the fighters will have to make their money elsewhere. Because what we're saying, this is not for anybody else but to pay the fighters.
Exactly.
Because all of the money from pay-per-view goes to the fighters.
And if it's in Saudi, as you rightly say, it's going to be a massive site for you.
But I have not a problem with the fight. Listen, boxing's a dangerous sport, right? We know that, and it's a short-lived career. So I've got no problem with the pay-per-view as long as it's priced correctly and it's elite fights. Because people aren't going to play it simple. People are no mugs, like Simon said. They're not going to pay pay-per-view for fights that are not.
But also, you know, if you look at the American fights, and a lot of those aren't elite fights, and in a country that's got 360 million rather than the 60 million we've got, which is the scale side of things, they're charging $60, $70, $80, $90, $100 for a fight. So actually, when we look at what the pay-per-view prices are, from this point of view, they will turn around and say, well, actually, it's not that expensive. The underlying reasons why people are paying pay-per-view is because that is how the fighters are getting paid and topping up their purses.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, if you're going to get 200,000 buys, or 300, if you get Anthony Joshua gets, say, 500,000 buys, if the price point is 25 quid a head, take the VAT off, it's 20 quid, there's 10 or 11 million pounds worth of revenue in there. And that is in part paying the undercard, paying the challenger rather than necessarily than the champion.
Like
the champion.
Yeah.
Well, and again, so we've accepted. We sat here. I used to sit there saying, why is it a tacit acceptance for everybody that somehow or another this has got to be a £150 million fight between Joshua and Fury?
Maybe on this occasion it won't be. What would you be prepared to pay when it comes along? When Fury gets in the ring with Usyk, whether it's in Saudi, whether it's in Qatar, whatever the heck it is, what would you be prepared to pay? Carlton said cut-off point 30 quid. That would be you.
Yeah, cuts off.
Right. That would be the cut-off point.
And make no point about this. I heard Frank Warren said that this fight has been considered for the UK. Who's Frank Warren kidding? The only place this fight is going to take place between Fury and Usyk is in the Middle East.
Send me a message on that. 81089. What would you be prepared to pay? What's your limit for Fury Usyk?